in today's video. Before I start, I'm sorry about the noise again, personally. I got a question for all of you, or whoever's going to watch this later on in the day. I've noticed that in Street Fighter in general, I leave this question to you guys in the Street Fighter community. I've noticed when people are teabagging, meaning taunting people on Street Fighter, I've noticed that sometimes that person isn't even in the lead of health in their character format, in matches, in the whatever match they're actually doing. I think my personal opinion on teabagging is, honestly, I think it's useless. I know it's a psychological mumbo jumbo where professional Street Fighters actually teabag you to make you psychologically mess up on your combos or anything like that. But in my personal opinion, I think teabagging is useless, because if you teabag the other player in Street Fighter 5 or 3 or whatever, you have a lot of time to do another combo and make sure your opponent is down, if you're that good at Street Fighter or anything for that matter. For me, when I'm watching some of these players teabag somebody, I was watching, 2 days ago, when I was actually playing Street Fighter, I was watching a player play as Rashid, and the other person was playing as Ken. I don't know if to me, taunting against Rashid is not a good thing because of his cyclone tornado large thing that covers the whole damn screen on the game, in the game, like at least wherever it travels. I'm like thinking to myself, and before that happened, the Ken character was actually taunting that other person before he did it. And by that point, based on Ken's character user, I knew he was screwed. I knew he was done. Because the Ken user wasn't even trying to execute fireballs to prevent that tornado thing from getting closer to your opponent. I'm like thinking to myself, this person needs to do something fast. I was just laughing. Because honestly, if you're calling yourself a professional Street Fighter player or wanna be one, don't mock the other players. Unless you got a big lead, unless you know how to do it. Me personally, I don't know how to teabag people because I think it's a useless tactic in Street Fighter ever. Unless you have a big enough lead to actually pull it off, and you're not gonna be able to allow the other person to get enough hits on that person. But to me, if that person, the new Street Fighter user of Street Fighter 5, or Street Fighter 3, or any Street Fighter game in general, I don't teabag people in general, because what it requires you to do, what I have trouble doing, is the rapid button presses on the crouch button, which is the down button on your controller. I'm not physically able to do that at that moment. I honestly think the crouch button doesn't do anything to me, because by the time people are done rapidly pressing the crouch button in Street Fighter with their character, depending on how good that person is, he could or she could execute 5, maybe a 6-hit combo, depending on the circumstances of the character they're using. I mean, I never try to taunt people because I don't think it's necessary. If I'm beating you in Street Fighter, I'm gonna beat you. But if you beat me, because of my limitations with Street Fighter, I'm glad you beat me, because that just make me better as a player. And some days, most days in fact, because of my limitations with everything in certain aspects of my gaming skills, because I have good use of my hands, but not enough as a normal person because of my disability. So, in fact, I don't waste my time teabagging somebody in Street Fighter. I rather try to beat that person straight up, and I wouldn't laugh at you, because if I beat you, that person's just gonna get better at Street Fighter. And honestly, all these professional players that teabag, look at what happened to Knuckle Dude. He got beaten by, what was it? I don't know. It's spelled in Chinese. I don't know if it's his username or his actual name. But honestly, when I'm watching these professional Street Fighter game players, I'm saying, based on how many times they rather mess around with doing teabag stuff, that's how people get screwed over in Street Fighter, because by the time you are done teabagging, depending on how good that individual is at Street Fighter, he could execute, again, I'll say this till nauseam, until I'm blue in the face, he could execute, or she could execute, a 5-hit combo, or even, 13-hit combo, or something like that, based on the new character aspects of certain characters. Like Ken's new move is going straight up with his Shoryuken, which allows that person to execute a normal 12-hit combo as he's going straight upwards. But there's a risk to that. Sorry about that. There's a risk to that. Where that person has to execute his regular 6 Hodo Shoryukens while he's doing his ultimate V skill move for his V gauge, which will allow that person to do at least roughly a 17-hit, I believe it's an 18-hit combo for Ken when he's doing his Shoryukens in accession, and when he's doing his V skill on top of that. But it's a 18-hit combo on top of that, if he masters that if that person masters that character with his new V skill. But for me, I'm not too good with his new V skill. Not yet, anyway. Because some days for me, when using Ken, because that's my main character, because my... Well, because of my disability, sometimes I could actually, when I'm using my fight pad, I use this when I play Street Fighter to even up the playing field. Even if I wanted to do certain aspects of my combos or something like that, the controller sometimes doesn't respond to the actual button sequences that I'm actually pressing. Sometimes when I'm throwing in Street Fighter, I've noticed that when I'm pressing these two buttons simultaneously, it doesn't grab. But I do not complain if that happens, because if that other person is going to beat me because of that, that's my fault. You know, I don't complain about how bad I am at Street Fighter. I just want to get better. And on top of that, for me, based on my playing skills, I've noticed what I have a problem with is when players... The only problem I have with players with Street Fighter, when they go crouching down, like, pretend I'm some Street Fighter character. All they're doing is this, guarding. Honestly, based on the new layout of the health bar in Street Fighter 5, they could block forever. I'm wondering why they added another health bar on top of their current health bar. Because now it's gold. And honestly, to me, 90 seconds to guard like 90 seconds for a Street Fighter game to guard like that is so boring. When I'm actually watching the player block me with all their blocking capabilities for Street Fighter, I'm saying all he's doing is waiting for me, or she's waiting for me to tire myself out, or wait for an opportunity to leave an opening for them to attack me. That's all nice and good, but when there's no price to the blocking part of that game, people could just go like this all day long with their character going like this. I'm like sitting there going, all he's gonna do is this. Because hold on, I'm gonna...
Thanks for tuning in to Game Ride. Today
If I knew I was gonna get questions, I would have opened up my thing earlier, but I apologize for that. Well, just to respond to whatever you wrote right there. Like I was saying, honestly, all they're doing is this all day long. And to me, that means your offense must not be pretty good if all you're doing is guarding and punching when I'm open, which I leave myself wide open all the time just for the V meter. I purposely will leave myself vulnerable for the V meter. And the only reason why I'm telling you that is because that's how I prefer to play Street Fighter 5. I don't waste my time blocking. I will try to dodge everything that I possibly can in Street Fighter or whatever Street Fighter game I'm playing. I will try to dodge instead of blocking because, honestly, you could dodge everything in that game if you know how. And I've noticed that the players that I go up against in Street Fighter in general do not dodge when they have all the room in the back. When they need to, I'm like watching them go, why are they not dodging? I mean, I know they want the V skill gauge up, but they could dodge. It's not always about the V skill counter or something like that, or whatever, I forgot what they called in Street Fighter 5, but it's not always about that V meter. It's about how skilled you are. And honestly, I think if anything Capcom needs to change for players is this. When people are guarding like this, they should actually increase the stun gauge just as much as if they were getting hit, but slightly less. If they don't want to take that, let you lose any health when you're guarding, they should at least add more to the stun gauge as that person is blocking, just as much as if he was actually getting attacked, because even the computer blocks forever. And I'm like sitting there going, why is he doing this when he should be attacking me? And I don't have that kind of like time to waste with Street Fighter players if they're gonna guard me all day long. If you're gonna beat me straight up. And I've only seen a couple players beat me straight up like that. And there's only 2 other Ken players that I actually have respect for. but I don't know their gamer tags because I've never officially met them. Like, they never sent me their actual PSN name over the internet, so I don't personally know them, but they were... I was impressed by their attacking prowess, not their blocking prowess. The only characters that actually need to block in that game, that really need to block because of the damage output they receive when people are attacking them, I've noticed it's Akuma and Cammy and Chun-Li, and the majority of the girl characters. I have no problem with the girl characters. I'm honestly, I really don't mind them blocking because of the damage output they can receive from other characters. But that's the exception to the rule. But for all these players that are good at Street Fighter, you guys are wasting your time just sitting like this, waiting for the other person to attack. And to me, that means you're waiting for me to attack you and raising up your V meter. And honestly, I don't mind that, but you could raise your V meter just as much as if you're getting hit. And honestly, all I'm asking for Capcom to do in their next Fighters update. Why did you make it so much more of a blocking game than an actual street fight? Not even in an actual street fight you block that much. You dodge more than you block in an actual street fight. And honestly, the game is called Street Fighter, not Blocking Street Fighter. I'm just sitting there going, all he's gonna do is block him because I leave myself open. That person's gonna attack me. And based on my situation with my player prowess, I don't like to block. I think it's a waste of time. I think there's other opportunities to dodge. I've noticed that other players don't dodge enough and they just sit there and block with their character going like this. And that's not a street fight. That's more of a... That's more of a weak tactic to me. If you block and make me wait, and honestly, that stun gauge should go up as that person's blocking too, because they lowered the damage output when you're blocking like that. At least they should raise up the... Hold on. Whoops. Hold on. The damage output for the stun gauge, because I'm sitting there going, there's no consequence to the stun gauge if that person's blocking in Street Fighter. Or they should actually put another gauge to indicate a shield parameter around the guarding parameters of that character. I mean, you can't block forever. Eventually, in an actual street fight, if this was real life, if that person punches that person enough times while that person's blocking, there should be a what you may call a broken bone, not total or something. They should at least take a lot more damage than a sliver of life like this. And honestly, Balrog, I get it. He's a boxer, so based on the parameters of how he's built, he could take a lot more blocking hits. But everybody else should, at least based on their character type and stuff like that, they should at least take a lot more stun damage when they're blocking. Or you guys at Capcom need to change that, because I've noticed that they can block for 30 seconds and not take nothing. There should be at least a little bit more consequence for that stun gauge, because I could be sitting there battling it out for 60 seconds and nothing's happening. No great damage, no nothing. I'm just talking about Street Fighter. Sorry about that. Like I said, when I watch people play on Street Fighter, when it comes to teabagging, again, I off-trailed a little bit. But, or a lot in that fact. When I off-trail, I'm still talking about the same subject, but I'm adding a couple things to my conversation. When, again, there's one thing I don't like in Street Fighter, in any shape or form, that much. When people block and do this all the time, and then don't take any damage, but I also have a problem with people that also teabag a lot when they haven't even won yet. And I've noticed that when I've watched a Ken player play against Rashid in the battle lounge, the Ken player got beaten because he wasn't throwing enough fireballs at the stationary tornado that goes forwards, not backwards. And I've noticed that when I was watching his gameplay against Rashid, he was teabagging Rashid and not doing any damage to Rashid, rather than teabagging him. I'm like, oh boy, he's gone. He's defeated. I mean, that's how I'm visualizing it as an actual player when I play Street Fighter. I strategically block. I don't block because I can do it. I block only because I have to. I don't block because I need to. To me, that is a better Street Fighter than those players that actually do this all the time and go like this and wait for an opportunity to actually attack me as a player in the game. That's my personal outlook on it. And in all honesty, players that block just as much as they attack, a balanced player, not a weak player. But to me, those players that just block all the time and make me attack you and then attack me after I'm done with my actual sequence, that's how weak I think you actually are. If you actually attack me first and do a lot of damage because of my lack of gameplay, then I'll respect you rather than watch you block me to death and then finish me off with the character that you're actually using in Street Fighter. But for Balrog, I get it. Because he's a boxer, he's gonna wait it out. But other characters have no excuse, except for Cammy, Chun-Li, and some others that need the blocking because their offense is... they broke that character for that character they're using for Cammy, Chun-Li, and so forth in Street Fighter V. They broke Ryu. Honestly, back in the day, I used to be a Ryu player, but they broke him. Capcom broke Ryu. I mean, he's one of... I would assume, based on how he's used in certain Street Fighter aspects, he's a good player if you play as a hermit, if you play as a tortoise. He's good for that kind of play style. But if you're not like a tortoise and you don't like that kind of running aspect to his run, then he's not the player for you. But for me, my main character that I actually use is Ken, because he fits more into the parameters of my aspect. But I need to work on my actual blocking parameters but blocking throws me off in Street Fighter, so that's why I prefer to dodge rather than block. Because depending on if you leave yourself open, I could attack you. Depending on what move you're actually going to use against me, I could probably attack you. Because I've noticed every character has similar patterns. It's all about clicking, timing. It's all about seeing their time openings for their certain attack patterns. And I've noticed all of them. But will I execute all of them? No. Because of my disability, I cannot execute all the combos that I actually want to do, but can't do because for some reason my controller doesn't allow me to do certain stuff all the time. I don't know what it is, but sometimes I can't grab. Even though I press the grab button, it doesn't allow me to do that. And sometimes when I want to do the Hore Shoyu Ken with Ken, I can't do that either because, well, for whatever reason, the same reason happens. The buttons don't seem to respond to me, or the D-pad doesn't respond to me. I don't get it. But I don't complain if I lost because of it. I respect it because I lost. It makes me want to be a better player. Even though my winning ratio isn't the greatest for Street Fighter, I respect my losses just as much as I won. Even though I lost about I played 1,400 times and lost about 11 or what is it, 1,200 times in Street Fighter, I still respect my losses just as much as I won. Because of first of all, my disability prevents me from doing certain things at any given time. And if I play Street Fighter not long enough, I lose a lot. If I don't go 3 days without playing Street Fighter, or a day or two, my skills actually drop drastically. I play like a noob because of my disability. Even though I know what I'm doing, I drop like a noob because of my disability. Because I was born with CP, and there's certain things that takes me a day or two to actually improve on when I play. But it won't be maintained for very long when I play Street Fighter because of my disability. Because my fingers go like this, and I get cramps when I play fighting games too long. So there's a period of playing time where I play, but I don't play enough to actually want to hurt my hand. But sometimes I want to play for 5 hours, but my hands won't physically let me because of my disability. But for RPGs, it's different. I can play those for longer periods, but for Street Fighter, I don't know. I can only go about 5 sets of 2. So I can only go through 10 matches at a time in any given day. If I go more than that, my weaknesses start showing in Street Fighter because of my CP. And if I only get an 18% win ratio, I don't care. At least I got my 200. And I just try to shoot for trophies in Street Fighter. But there's a couple of things in Street Fighter that I will not be able to get because of my disability. I think I won't be able to get the hard trophy for this survival mode. The highest I've ever gone on hard difficulty in survival mode is level 27. And that was on a good day. On a bad day, I can only go up to 10. 10 or 12. Let me rephrase that. 12. Yeah, 12 is my minute. 12 is my max on a bad day when I'm playing survival mode on Street Fighter because of my disability. Honestly, like I said, teabagging is useless if you don't have a big enough lead. I think it doesn't intimidate me at all. In Street Fighter 5, when somebody does teabag me, like taunting me, rapidly pressing the crouch button, that does not bother me at all. I'm actually laughing at it, like I said, because if you have enough time to teabag somebody, you have enough time to probably execute, based on the character you're using, you could probably execute a 5-hit combo instead of, or throwing a couple fireballs to prevent you from getting attacked by a projectile. That's what I do. But when people waste time taunting another person, don't do it. Because honestly, you don't lose respect from me, but you might lose respect as a credibility if you don't have a big enough lead to do it. Don't taunt that person, because that person might beat you depending on the character they're using. Like Rashid could hit you from both sides of the screen when you're using Ken. I've seen it. I saw it in the Battle Lounge that that day that I'm talking about, where Ken didn't even have the lead. Rashid was the character that he was using, or she was using Rashid, and that Ken player got crushed. I was like, ha, he deserved to lose. But for me, personally, I don't taunt anybody in Street Fighter because that person will get better than I can possibly get better. Because there's certain things in Street Fighter that I personally don't care for doing. I don't block as much as the other player does because I rather focus on my next move rather than blocking. And blocking for me just throws me off. I've noticed this for me personally. It throws me off my attack patterns. It actually is weaker. It's actually a weakness in my design as a player. But that cannot be fixed. And the only reason why I'm telling you guys this is because I don't care if I lose, I don't care if I win. If I manage to get the win, that's all that matters. But if I lose, it lets me know what I need to do next time to probably beat that person in Street Fighter 5 or any Street Fighter for that matter. But instead of blocking, I dodge a lot more. But I've noticed that people just there's not enough consequence to blocking in Street Fighter rather than anything else. There used to be in Street Fighter. You got a lot more gray damage before they did all the updates. But for me, I think blocking for 90 seconds is just as bad as taunting, because that proves to me that you're not that skilled and you're depending on your blocking skills to actually help you, depending on what character you're using. And that means you lack attacking skills, and you made up for that skill weakness with your blocking. But you get more respect from me if you attack me first and then block or dodge, rather than just sitting there like a turtle going like this in Street Fighter 5. For Balrog, because he's a boxer, I know he's able to take a lot more hits, but show me that you actually know how to attack a person in Street Fighter 5, rather than just sitting there like a hermit and making me attack and making openings for yourself. Prove to me that you actually deserve what your ranking is, which is probably 3,000 or something like that at the most. 300,000. Prove to me that you actually earn that without blocking. Prove to me that you actually need to block on occasion rather than just blocking and sitting there and waiting for your enemies to attack you. Because most of the players that I've went up against that just block, wait for me to attack, and then hit me because I leave myself wide open to it on purpose. Hey, I'm sorry to not answer your questions. I'm still here though. But that's how I see it. For me, personally, for gamers who just block in Street Fighter, that's just as bad as taunting in Street Fighter. Because taunting does not do nothing for me. Let this be a lesson to all the new Street Fighter players. Never taunt unless you actually have a big enough lead, and then you know what his patterns are, and then you go in for the final blow. But do not taunt that person, because if that person knows what he's doing, then you're gonna get creamed whether he's up in the air or down on the floor in Street Fighter. Because that's what happened to me, where sometimes where some of these Street Fighter players taunt me just because they have a slight lead, but I was close enough to execute my usual 6-hit combo if I'm having a good day. Or what was it? At least a 7-hit combo based on what I actually did. So never mock your opponents. Never ever do it, because I don't. Not intentionally. I don't do it on purpose. I don't do it on accident, because hold on, let me just grab my controller here. I can only press the down button this fast when I'm actually playing Street Fighter 5. Which, that means I'm too slow to even do the taunting portion of that game. But I think there should, honestly, my only gripe about Street Fighter 5 is there needs to be more, just as much consequence to Street Fighter 5 in the blocking aspect of it, only for certain characters, but not for all characters. Or there should be a actual blocking gauge where eventually, if they take enough hits in that blocking gauge, they leave themselves wide open to attacks before that recharges. That would make it more strategic rather than just doing this all the time and making it more tactical. Then you have to be more strategic. Because the Akuma does that all the time too. I'm like, watching these Akuma players, I'm like, all you guys do is block? I actually want to say, like, all you guys do is block. Based on his damage output, I get it. He lacks health, but with his damage output, if you know how to use Akuma properly, you don't really need to block. If you know how to dodge backwards, I mean, I do it all the time. I'm watching these Street Fighter players go, I'm like, why isn't that person actually going back rather than forward? I mean, that's how I am able to dodge fireballs, and it's all about timing. Games like that for Street Fighter, it's all about timing. You gotta see a window of 3 seconds of what they're actually going to do. But if you're too close, you're gonna have to block anyway. But for me, I try to mostly dodge my opponent's attacks rather than block, because I don't have time for that. I think it hurts my game more than it helps me. So I rather attack rather than play defense like Eternal Hermit. Or I rather dodge, as my blocking recommends me to do. But hold on. You're asking me what character I use? I use Ken. If that person's still there, I apologize for not trying to be more attentive to my responses, but I'm just getting my thoughts together and talking at the same time. But that's why I try to open up my live stream before any of conversations go on. But for some reason, it's not letting me do that today. I don't know why. Or let me see. It's definitely not letting me do it today. Well, I guess that's gonna be it for me today, because I got something else to play today. I gotta finish up my next chapter in this game right here, Summon Night 6. So thanks for watching, and I just needed to vent for this video. I think it was necessary for me to actually talk about it, because I've noticed that people people taunt players when there doesn't need to be. I've noticed that, like, why are you taunt? Like, in the back of my mind when I'm watching other Street Fighter players, because I don't stream that, but maybe I should, but I've noticed that certain players rather taunt when the fight's not even done yet. No, and those players deserve to lose if they did lose, because you're mocking the other player and you haven't even won yet. That's my personal outlook on it. You haven't even won yet and you're running your mouth. You're basically teabagging the other person in the actual game. And you haven't even won yet, because even a sliver of life means you're still alive and you're able to win in Street Fighter 5 if you know what you're going to do next, and if you know what the other person's going to do. You have an opportunity to win. Because there was one time, like, before I sign off on this video, this individual that I went up against had this much life left, comparison to my minuscule half an inch or a quarter of life left. And I eventually, I don't remember if I won or not, but yeah, I did win a set match because of that, because I was having a good day on Street Fighter that day. If I have a good day, I'm on my game. My blocking aspects are on point. My whole aspect of even my blocking is on point, because I do tap blocking. I don't block entire things. I don't block like this with my character. I block like like this, in a figurative manner of speaking. I tap block. I minimize the damage that I receive depending on if I'm having a good day or not. I minimize it. I basically absorb it, and that's on a good day. I absorb just enough damage to hit that person back in Street Fighter V on a good day. On a bad day, I'm usually the one laying on the floor and not complaining about it because I deserve to lose on those days because of my disability. And if my controller's working properly to my response time when I try to move, but I deserve to lose if I did lose. But make this a lesson to all the new Street Fighter players. Never mock your opponents, because they're just gonna get better and you're just gonna get worse. And you feel bad. You'll probably feel bad later on if they end up beating you for the rest of your life. But for me personally, I don't care if I lose. I don't care if I win. Because every match, I've learned something on that day. So that's how I take it. Let that be a lesson to all the new Street Fighter characters and the old characters too. But on that note, before I finally end this, I can't wait to see Blanca, Sagat, Abel. I don't know who the old guy is. Is it Master Goken? No, it's not Goken. It's the other Asian guy. I think with the Abraham Lincoln hat for the DLC, because we got Sakura. If you had the update for Street Fighter V, and that is all for today's escapadical video. But nice talking to all of you, or whoever's gonna watch besides that one person. I enjoyed my venting period for this, but there should be more consequences to blocking. They should add another gauge besides the stun gauge. If the stun gauge only allows you to get hurt on one occasion if you don't block, but there should actually be a blocking gauge prevention thing in Street Fighter V, because they're blocking forever and not attacking enough. I mean, it's called Street Fighter, for crying out loud. It's not called blocking Street Fighter. It's called Street Fighter. In the streets, you don't block a lot. You block occasionally, as if it was used as the last a last resource to the aspect of what you're doing. A street fight doesn't require you to block a lot. It requires you to block strategically. That's what I'm saying. They've lost the meaning of Street Fighter. I hope that Capcom actually fixes that blocking issue, because they added another health bar. How much blocking do you want these people to do in Street Fighter V? That's way too much. There was a green meter. Now there's a gold meter on top of that? That's ridiculous. I gotta end it here, because there's nothing more to say. I mean, I said what I needed to say, and I need to get busy on playing this. So, what? Hold on. Whoops. Whoops.
Control.
Whoops. So bad.
Text to speech. Text to speech unavailable here.